From the Detroit Free Press, it's Thursday, November 28th, Thanksgiving Day. Presented by Bush's Fresh Food Market. Bush's has over 4,000 Michigan products, including the freshest fruit and vegetables, meat, seafood, and baked goods. Stop by one of Bush's 16 locations for the personal service you expect from your neighborhood grocer.
I'm Kirkland Crawford with the Free Press Sports Department and an update on the Lions. Few traditions are more synonymous with Thanksgiving than football at Ford Field. Today, the Lions host the Bears, and the big question is, who will be the quarterback for Detroit? We all know Matthew Stafford is out with a back injury. The number 2 guy, Jeff Driscoll, is officially listed as questionable with a sore hamstring. If he can't go, expect rookie David Blau to get his first ever start. And considering the Bears boast the 4th best defense in the NFL, and the Lions have already lost 4 straight, expect your family members to turn their attention away from the game earlier than normal. Kickoff, as always, is at 12:30 on Thanksgiving.
I'm John Carlisle for the Detroit Free Press. This is part 1 of our series featuring stories about small-town life up north. For 35 years, Nancy Withrow and her husband Donald ran a roadside motel in a small town in the Upper Peninsula. But earlier this year, Donald died suddenly, leaving Nancy to run the motel all by herself. She's been trying to sell it and move downstate near her kids and grandkids. A few people have called about buying it, but nobody ever showed up with a check. She keeps reducing the asking price, but there's been little interest in running a small motel in the middle of nowhere. And she can't bring herself to just walk away and lose everything. So she waits, alone, going through the motions of a suddenly solitary routine. Come back tomorrow to hear part 2 of our series about the challenges facing rural Michigan, or check out the stories on freep.com.
This is John Gallagher of the Detroit Free Press reporting that one of the cities Detroit looked to for inspiration early in its recovery is now suffering setbacks of its own. That city is Turin, Italy. Turin long reigned as Italy's automotive capital, the home of Fiat, with thousands of automotive jobs. When Fiat almost crashed and burned in the 90s, Turin had to reinvent itself, much as Detroit did following Turin's example. Turin built a new public transit system, nurtured a rebirth of Italy's TV and film industry, hosted the Winter Olympics, and generally turned around its image from Rust Belt failure to capital of innovation and culture. Now, though, Turin's new mayor from Italy's populist 5-star movement pushes an agenda that distrusts government, opposes immigration, and doesn't like paying for big-ticket items like transit. So Turin, once Detroit's role model, is seeing a slow decline. There's a lesson there for Detroit. Don't let the inevitable political squabbles halt our progress.
This is Georgia Kovanis from the Detroit Free Press with a story about how powerful a supportive family can be. Tommy Kraus, who is 36 and lives in Beverly Hills, went to rehab 5 years ago. His stepfather, with whom he'd had a sometimes difficult relationship, drove him. And just before they pulled onto the grounds of the facility, he turned to Kraus and said something unexpected, something that changed the young man's life. Today, and every day really, Kraus is thankful for those words, because without them, he'd probably be dead, a casualty of the nation's opioid epidemic. Kraus was a heroin addict. A troubled kid, he sought escape in marijuana, then meth, then pills, and finally heroin. Drugs devastated his family members and ruined relationships. But the whole time, his stepfather, a former firefighter named Michael Todd, stood by, ready to help if he could. Kraus asked him to drive him to rehab because he didn't think anyone else would, and also because he felt close to Todd, closer to him than anybody else in his family. Todd's words helped Kraus get sober. Things aren't perfect. Sobriety was the first step in Kraus's recovery. But he's alive. For the complete story, go to freep.com.
This is Michael Walker reporting for the Detroit Free Press. As families gather for holiday meals, many folks are thinking about digging into their favorites: turkey, macaroni and cheese, and green bean casserole. But many are also wondering just how sanitary the cooks are when preparing these dishes. A recent study by a food safety group found that nearly 1 in 4 Americans had reported getting food poisoning from a holiday meal. The most commonly reported unsanitary practice? Rinsing raw turkey in the kitchen sink. Turkey splatter could contaminate surfaces up to 3 feet away. In addition, 38% of people only use soap and water to sanitize kitchen countertops, and 26% of Americans admitted to not washing their hands while cooking. Food safety experts offer this advice. Wash your hands frequently. Sanitize your countertops after handling raw meat using a bleach solution. And don't rinse off the turkey before cooking. Just put it in the pan, stuff, and cook.
For more stories from the Detroit Free Press, be sure to check out freep.com. That's FREEP.com. And sign up for the Daily Briefing newsletter. See you tomorrow.